What's going on, Reef Builders? I'm Jake Adams. I'm so happy to be back in the studio after a very long month of travel. And I appreciate your understanding and helping me avoid burnout. But now that the studio is mostly complete, I've been promising for a long time to get into a rhythm of producing some videos. So this is an easy one to ease me back into the rhythm. And it's it's pretty much just going to be a bunch of eye candy from ReefStock Australia. So I want to tell you a little bit about what I did before ReefStock Australia, because this was the first time I got to go diving on the Great Barrier Reef after 5 trips to Australia. Yeah, it takes a lot of dedication and focus to not get distracted by the shiny things and really put together a great reef show. So just to get started, we had a collaborative expedition, myself, Ultra Corals Australia, Vincent Chalias, and Russell Kelly of BYO Guides. And we spent some time on this large, I like to call it the mothership, but it's a pontoon boat, a double pontoon boat, I guess, a working ship. I like to call it the mothership. I think it's called the Diversity, and it's from this boat that we were actually collecting corals on the Great Barrier Reef. It was on the southern end of the Great Barrier Reef, so there was really no bleaching. It was really just super duper healthy reef where we were at. So this is what it looks like when we're steaming off, basically, out of the Mackay Marina. And yeah, it took a long time to get to the outer parts of the reef. We put together all of our own gear, had to fill our own bottles. This is a brand new compressor that a couple of us got trained on, but mostly it was Vincent spending a lot of time making sure they were filled, but not overfilled. And I had so much stuff to bring for ReefStock, I wasn't able to bring my dive gear. But we had a lot of dive equipment to work with. So this is us just kind of get situated, I think the day before, trying to figure out who's going to be using what and how on the BCD front. And if you want to know what the Great Barrier Reef looks like topside, this is it. So about 200 miles offshore. There's nothing, there's no land, there's no landmarks, there's a little bit of waves in certain places where the tide is coming over the reef, but for the most part, it's just an open expanse of ocean, and the only thing to break it up occasionally were whales. There was actually lots of whales on this trip. At this point, you're probably wondering, hey, where are all the corals at? And I think that was more of an orientation trip, an orientation dive trip on the Great Barrier Reef, because I was just totally floored. And so I was able, in real time, to kind of piece together a narrative for another trip, for a future trip. But just so I'm not totally teasing you, here's an example of some of the corals from Ultra Corals Australia. They really are proud of their Bowerbankies, their Homophilia bowerbanki colonies. They collect them in all different colors, and here you can see they're actually documenting and cataloging how fast it takes for them to grow and growth rates under different environments and feeding regimens, et cetera, et cetera. So here's kind of a sample that they've done with some red Homophilia bowerbanki. I want to say that these were like 6 to 9 months old, maybe up to a year. And you can see they've got lots of baby polyps all around the sides. And here's a much more impressive specimen, kind of a bleeding apple, red with green streaks, and a little bit of the UFO with the black ring on the inside. Just a beautiful, stunning specimen, because they want to learn how to culture these things very well so that they can propagate these just unbelievable colonies like this one right here, the absolute holy grail. On one side, it's kind of a B grade. On the left side, it's kind of a A grade. And in the middle is like an ultra premium psychedelic grade. Just really fun coral. So hats off to UCA for really trying to propagate at the source. These guys put in a lot of work. I picked out a lot of corals while I was at the facility, and those are hopefully going to be arriving here in a couple of weeks, which will give me a lot of new corals to play with. So I finally, actually, this is the selection of corals that I picked out at Ultra Corals Australia. All of these came from the Great Barrier Reef, and there's all kinds of weird little things in there. Even common stuff. So like a green and pink Polypora, the Australian alcorn you can see right there, some Robusta, which is kind of common, some nice big branches of Hoaxami, lots of scaly tenuis and vermiculata, my own strawberry shortcake, a few different funky Montiporas, a nice Isopora, a cat's paw Isopora, a nice cat's paw style Polypora, some funky leathers and some funky softies, and just, you know, just a nice little diversity. And so this was my highlight section. There's a low light section in another part of UCA. So back to what I was saying, these corals will hopefully be arriving right about 2 weeks from now, right about 2 weeks from the shooting and uploading of this video. I'm gonna have a lot of fresh Great Barrier Reef corals, some of them freshly collected, and very exciting. So I'll be sure to include you in that. But the reason I was in Australia to begin with was for ReefStock Australia, and I just happened to get my kicks off beforehand. Now let's see, what did I want to say? ReefStock Australia was so much fun, you guys. You know, last year, ReefStock Australia 2018 was the first year that Australia had ever had an American-style reef aquarium conference. This year, the people came out in droves. I just couldn't freaking believe how many people came out. The attendance was probably around 1,100 to 1,200, give or take. But what I was most impressed with was the engagement with the crowds and just how much the vendors have grown and improved and refined, I guess, their game and what they bring to the shows. The livestock vendors just, man, they packed it in. They had so many corals, and the dry good vendors just really got what they needed to do. Everybody understood and learned a lot from year one. So year two did not feel like the second year. It felt like the fifth year. So I'll just take a little moment to applaud all the ReefStock vendors, because me and my team, we set the stage, but you guys really showed up. You guys are the actors, you guys are the stars, and I couldn't do it without the participation of the Australian reef aquarium community. So we had some great speakers. My local LFS owner, Chris Capp of Aquatic Art, came all the way to Sydney to talk about keeping healthy corals. This is what makes corals colorful. This is what makes them grow fast. And it's just all about healthy corals. So Chris Capp really gave the folks some practical notes, some practical wisdom, and Julian Sprung followed up his series called Little Stories with Little Stories 3, talking about mangroves, talking about trees. I guess mangroves are trees, talking about, I don't know, what else? I don't know, he talked about a whole bunch of stuff, and we did record both of those talks. And one thing you may have noticed is that I don't usually do a walkthrough of ReefStock Denver or Australia, because kind of busy running the show, and I kind of want to let some other YouTubers shine for this particular event. And in Australia, man, they are so on the ball. We have put together a playlist of all of the ReefStock, produced videos so far. I think there's over 20 videos, so definitely check the link in the description below. I might maybe even pin it in the comments for the playlist to all the videos put together by, let's see, who do I have in here? We have First Time Reefer is in the house, Sam Parker of Parker's Reef, Two Gay Reefers, Gallery Aquatica, and I'm sure a couple more. So these guys are really diving down to what they see and what you could find at ReefStock Australia. And Two Gay Reefers, we're working together to put the ReefStock speaker presentations online. So that's Vincent, Chris Capp, and Julian Sprung. So look out for those here in the near future. But now what you're all here for, and what I'm actually also pretty excited to see, is the eye candy from ReefStock Australia, because last year was fun. Last year was interesting. There was a lot of fresh corals. But this year, these guys, the ReefStock Australia vendors, they saved some of the best corals to bring to this show to really make a statement. It was almost, you know, kind of a competition of who had the nicest car at the meetup, except it was corals. And I was just floored from the very, very beginning. So let's dive in. I remember a lot more of the ReefStock Australia vendors this year than I did last year, but now it's been a month, so I'm not going to remember every single one of you guys that came to ReefStock Australia. Bear with me, but I remember some of them. So torch corals, super duper hot right now. Ocean Reefs Marine Aquariums had an incredible selection, everything but the gold torches, but there was the green with orange tips, and then this really cool brown with a yellow orange tip, kind of edged in green. Just this incredible diversity of glabs. Glabs is what they call torch corals in Australia. And another thing that really caught my attention is an Australian specialty. Every reef display in Australia has a yellow tip elegance coral. And I picked one up last year from the Fish Doctor. Shout out to Fish Doctor. And my colony is doing just super duper nice. But at ReefStock Australia, this year, there was a whole bunch of them, and then one thing I'd never even seen before, an orange tip elegance coral from Ocean Reefs Marine Aquarium, and Julian Sprung actually bought that one. I think he got that one with a couple of other yellow specimens. So him and I both recognize that, you know, those might show up in Australia from time to time, but the yellow tip is very rare. The orange tip, man, I've never seen it. Although Ocean Reefs Marine Aquariums had brought out a colony at to MACNA this year. So we had some Australians participating at MACNA as well. All right, moving along. So this is Frankies Frags, and he's just got like a super eclectic mix of corals. You know, it's kind of a mixed bag, whether you want the frags very well organized, like Gallery Aquatica might do, so you can pick out exactly what frag you want, or like Frankies Frags, he just kind of like mixes it all up. So you just really have to search and seek for the corals. I don't know, it's two awesome ways to present the corals, and Frankies Frags is definitely kind of shaping himself after Jason Fox in America, whereas Gallery Aquatica is kind of shaping themselves after worldwide corals. So it's really cool to be able to recognize some of these Australian analogs to aquarium companies that we have here in the United States. So this is just like, I don't even know what to say about this. A ridiculous bouquet of homophilia Australiensis, Scolies. They're not Scolemia anymore, but Scolies is a good colloquial name, and we have a lot more to show you further down this video. This is another one from Ocean Reefs Marine Aquarium. This was a neon, just fuchsia pink carpet anemone. It was expensive, but it had a little hints of green in it, and it was kind of a medium-sized one, so not like, you know, not huge, but maybe about this big. And I totally would have gotten it, but the Australian market for any host or fancy anemone is much better in Australia than it is here in the United States. So they can get a lot more money over there. So I'll wait to come across there. Actually, if any of the vendors in America have any carpet anemones that, you know, have my name on it, hit me up, jake@reefbuilders.com. Okay, so here is a really nice selection of LPS. You've got Trackies, Cinerinas, some Zoanthids, Lobos. I don't remember whose tank this was exactly. I'm sorry about that, you guys, whoever that was. All right, here's some more beautiful Scolies, just every color you can think of, you know. There's UFOs, there's bleeding apples, there's war paints, there's, yeah, masters, everything in between. I want to say this was one of the Salty Pets aquariums. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, because they're the ones that had like some of this super duper crazy Scolies, and some really nice Cycloceras. We used to have a really great selection of Cyclos like these from Indonesia, but not so much anymore. So we kind of rely on Australia to dig these up now. So this is again the Salty Pets. Salty Pets really showed up in strength. who we have here? So this is Batavia's reef that I believe he shared with Dr. Fish, or Fish Doctor. Man, I'm sorry if I got that wrong. So on the right side, or the top side, that would be Batavia. And he's got a lot of red and green jawbreaker style discosomas. And then also farms his own acros, including the real deal Acropora brolosensis from Western Australia. And the Fish Doctor, I'm pretty sure he had a lot of nice, Ghanies, and yeah, some really cool stuff. So, don't know whose tank this was, but there was another Orangish Scalia that sold for big money. I want to say it was 2,000 Australian. I'm not super sure on the Scalia itself, but it was just orange with red streaks and kind of a red and green streaked inside of the mouth. Just caught your attention from across the show floor. We are back now to Salty Pets. They had a tank full, absolutely chock full of hammer corals, and they had this really, really cool effect where they put a small wave on it, and just all of the hammer corals were just kind of pulsing in unison. It was really cool. And this is one of the corals here that just like totally stole the show. It was not completely open in this video, and I didn't get to see it completely open because the thing got sold like so early on, but it was essentially kind of black inside with orange tentacles, or green tentacles, and orange tips. This is one of those things that was close to what we see sometimes as a premium hammer coral, but then it had just a little extra to just push it into like Psycho Town territory. Just really, really awesome coral. Here's a more Cycloceras, I think, also from Salty Pets. Yeah, that would be those guys. And oh, I don't remember whose tank this was. This might have been Nick's Aqua Terrarium. Oh no, I don't remember who that was. Okay, so here's the tank by Eastwood Aquariums, and they really went all out. They created these custom, kind of long, perfectly viewable top-down tanks that were elevated a lot higher, so it made it a lot easier for people to get a good look at the corals that they brought. And here are some fresh LPS and acros from Monsoon Aquatics. So these were from the Cairns to the Northern Great Barrier Reef. And again, another fresh crop of SPS corals and frags, acros. These are, I believe, sustainable reefs that were in the Nature Aquariums booth. And just look at the price on that. $30 Australian, 2 for 50, and 3 for 70 or something. It was just insane. And definitely the award, if there's an award, for best frag presentation has to go to Gallery Aquatica. As you can see, it's just like perfectly OCD organized coral frags, all different styles, lots of encrusters, and big shout out to Cameron Tippett, who's also one of our speakers, and he showed off some of his best Australian tanks, because that's one of the things that he does is install and maintain tanks. And shout out to Anya, who had a baby like 2 or 3 weeks before ReefStock and still managed to come. So I really appreciate theirs and everybody's effort in coming out. There you go. It's just another like jaw-dropping assortment of Scolies. Okay, now I'm pretty sure this was Nick's Aquarium and Terrarium place. I know he's got a new name. I got one of those gold torch corals right there. Nick Ultra Corals picked up the other one. So shout out to you guys for bringing out some hot stuff. And this tank is actually Reef River Reptile had the least amount of improvement over last year, because last year they kind of set the bar, right? So last year they brought out this custom, slightly slanted front aquarium and packed it with, what did they pack it with? Like 200 Blastomussa frags or something, and yeah, they quickly saturated the local scene for Blastomussa. So this year they brought in a lot more diversity, including a lot of cool encrusted sculptures and stuff, and just incredible diversity of corals. Really, really super duper colorful. The Illumagic Vitamini strip lights were added to virtually everybody's tanks, and it just brought out this extra crazy level of pop. And I think it was Mark at Reef River Reptile. I really loved his passion and enthusiasm for this coral right here. It's a 20-year-old strain of baby blue Echinopora, I'm gonna guess Jamacia. This particular colony is only 9 or 10 months old, but real nice baby blue. And I just love that story where he brings out this kind of showpiece style coral and has it surrounded by frags of this coral. So you can tell people, hey, this coral's 20 years old. You can buy a frag of it for 20 bucks or so. This is another very nice, very large red carpet anemone. I'm telling you, the Australian appreciation for host anemones is second to none. I've actually seen a couple, or at least one really good host anemone aquarium, and it was really cool. And then, last but not least, one of the most awesome things at ReefStock Australia was an assortment of captive bred target Mandarin Dragonettes. And so these were, I think, about 180 days old. I think they were like $130 Australian. So they looked exactly like the perfect little Mandarins that we get from Biota. About the same size, about the same equivalent price, but it was a completely different species. And it's just really cool to see how when they're very small, they have these little black spots under on the belly that kind of eventually morph into, you know, what we think of as a typical target Mandarin color pattern. Very, very cool to see that. I hope you enjoy this eye candy. I'm not sure if I mentioned it enough yet, but ReefTees, we've got some t-shirts up in ReefTees. They're our exclusive merch provider. Got a lot of corals coming from UCA, Ultra Corals Australia very soon. Check out the links below for more videos from ReefStock Australia. And for MACNA 2019 this year, I am pretty much just writing articles. I have so many other videos to do, but Two Gay Reefers were out there too, so make sure to check out their stuff for some unique first-time MACNA coverage. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for sticking with me and enjoying that video of Yoshi's reef tank. If you didn't see that, you are definitely missing out, so go back and check that out. Yes, that's the eye candy from ReefStock Australia. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and the notification bell so you don't miss another video, because I am going to put this together, produce it, edit it, upload it, and get started on the next video right away. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.